We're going to come to lie supine with our heaviest Theraband and the ball to support the head. We're gonna bring our arms into what I call dead bug position, where your triceps are pressing heavy into the floor, elbows are bent, forearms are pointing up to the ceiling, creating right angles with the arms. As you dorsiflex your foot, we're going to hold this hamstring stretch, keeping a micro bend in the knee of the lifted leg and extension in the low back. So reach the tailbone towards whatever is in front of you or down towards your feet, creating a mouse hole between the low back and the floor. You want this mouse hole because this is going to create more space for pelvic extension to combat the flat back rounding that's happening in the low back. So as you're here, breathe, think about imprinting those triceps, the back of the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the back of your ribs into the floor. We want to get a nice postural stretch before we begin our work today. On your next inhale, I'd like you to prepare to lower that leg and set up on the other side, keeping the upper body active, activating the back of the shoulders, the lats, the serratus anterior. We want to imprint those back ribs, bring the front ribs to meet the back ribs. Widen your collarbone. There's an apple distance between your chin and your chest. Here, each inhale as it goes in, expanding the rib cage, pull the navel in, lift in and up on the muscles that stop your stream of pee, and fog a marrow as that foot dorsiflexes and you bring the leg closer to the body. Keep those shoulders down the spine. Take a deep inhale. On your exhale, fog a mirror. Keep breathing here. Just a couple more breaths. Inhale, belly button to spine. Tug in and up on the muscles that stop your stream of pee. Keep that pelvic extension, tailbone reaching towards whatever is down in front of you, where your legs are. And on your next exhale, we'll make our way up to stand by a wall, moving into a calf and pec stretch. Start with your dominant leg closest to the wall and take the same arm onto the wall in a T, twisting the torso away, keeping the pelvis square to whatever is in front of you. Little bend in both knees, deep bend in the front knee, soft bend in the back knee, driving that back heel down as the pelvis goes forward. Hold it here. We just want to stretch out these posturally tight areas before we begin our level 1 slider disc cardio burst. So as you're working here, hear your breath. Use your breath to go deeper, driving the heel down, the pelvis forward, keeping the focus up eye level, twisting away from that arm on the wall. Go ahead and slowly make your way to the other side, setting up. We've got a great blood pumping cardio burst today to increase the strength in your quadriceps and hip flexors. We'll increase the strength in the TVA, the deepest layer of the core, while also engaging those inner thighs, working on the dorsiflexion of the feet, the strength of the upper back extensors, and your external obliques. All right, from here, we're going to grab our sliders. Now you can use these discs like I have here, or you can use washcloths depending on the surface you're on, just rags. You're going to want to have, most likely it's going to be more effective with toe socks, and these have a little more traction. You bring the pad of your foot, not your whole foot, but more the metatarsals and the top of the foot onto the slider. And from there, that's how we're going to use the sliding discs. That's how we should stand on them, or the washcloths. Grab your lightest loop band and bring it around your upper arms, pulling out on it like so to engage your scapular stabilizers. In this position, we're going to come into a sumo squat. Exhale down, traveling to the side in the frontal plane. It's kind of like a crab walk. Once you get to the side, inhale, stand up. Exhale, sit down, twist for 4. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, sit down and travel back to the other side, the side you started on. Inhale up, exhale down, and twist. 2, 3, 4. Notice that I'm not turning my pelvis when I twist. The twist is from the rib cage. isolating the transverse abdominis to build up your core. The inner thighs pull you down into this deep squat, and you're walking it. You want to feel the quadriceps. And you can almost have a straight back, more like a second position in ballet. This is going to be really great for building up the hip flexors, quadriceps, and adductors of the legs. So this is our first exercise. Our second exercise, we're going to need our 3-pound weight. Let's begin with it in our dominant hand. And I'm going to give you 2 variations. I do not have flat back posture, so I'm going to do a variation that is good for people who have neck issues. So if you're someone with flat back who has neck issues, do this variation. Scissor slides, we're going to do 8 of them, turning in the transverse plane. Then bring your foot to tree pose and give me 4 presses. 1, inhale up, exhale down. 2, 3, 4, inhale, prepare. Notice the hands are on the shoulders. And we do our 8 scissor slides back to the position we started in. Feel the legs working in opposition together. If you can feel that, that'll give you a lot more stability. Another variation, if you don't have any neck issues, is lateral flexion, loaded lateral flexion here. So once you get to that side, you can side bend. Kind of looks like a little mini crunch or like a C position when you get all the way into it. So these are our 2 variations. I'll review them again, but go ahead and get used to those scissor slides and then the isometric hold of either the tree pose with the shoulder presses, the overhead presses, or the lateral flexion loaded. You're going to keep that weight in the same arm, and then on the next set we'll switch. So before we go on to the next set in the transverse plane, let's learn the exercise in the sagittal plane. For this one, we're going to be doing a cross punch. And what I'd like you to do is take that 3-pound weight again into your dominant hand only. And you're going to cross punch with the slider reaching in opposition, traveling forward. For 4, let's do 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, you're going to hold the weight on your chest with the elbows lifted, and you're going to go forward with your dominant leg 4 times into a lunge. 1, 2, pulling back, 3, and 4. Hold that weight in your dominant arm to travel back for 4, 3. We've got our cross punches and leg reaches, 2, 1, and then our forward lunges with our non-dominant leg holding the weight on the chest. Elbows are up for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's repeat 1 time for good measure. So we do our twist from the torso as we cross punch and leg reach. At the top, we hold the weight at the chest with the elbows lifted and the shoulders down, and we slide forward on our dominant side for 4, 3, 2, 1. Once we're up, we repeat this back. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back into those lunges with your non-dominant. You're going to take that forward for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, our first exercise we had that lightest band around our upper arms, and we went into our ballet second squat to walk to the side. This is a deep sumo squat with external rotation from the hip sockets. Once you get to the side, you inhale up without locking the legs, locking the knees, and then you exhale back down, twisting the torso for 4, and 3, 2, 1. And then we repeat going back in the other direction, setting up, counting you in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go. Give me 100% effort. This is our first level for learning and understanding how to use the sliders efficiently. This is a challenging workout. It's going to get your blood pumping. Just make sure your knees are soft, your abs are engaged, you're looking up. Your focus should be slightly higher than eye level. Your shoulders are back on your spine. You're not feeling them rounding forward. You shouldn't see them in your peripheral vision. They should be gliding down your back. So keep your abs pulling in towards your spine to support your back. Find a neutral pelvis. And what is a neutral pelvis? It's somewhere between arching your low back and rounding your low back. And you can find that by tipping your pelvis back a little bit and pulling the pelvic floor muscles, the muscles that stop your stream of pee, in and up. And as you do that, work with your breath. So the breath I cued was inhale to stand up without locking the knees, exhale to sit back and walk. Once you get to the other side, you inhale, stand up, exhale, sit back, and then you twist. 2, 3, 4. You inhale, prepare, exhale, sit back, and you walk. 2, 3, 4. So this can be done at a brisk tempo. Take a break. Good work. We're going to repeat that exercise one more time. Take your break. I'd like you to grab water. Just don't sit down. We're going to come back to that same exercise now that you know it so well. I'll give you a 10-second countdown when we get there. Please don't sit down. If anything needs stretching, now's the time to do it. Or just stand in place, soft bend in the knees, and focus on your breath. Keep your chin apple distance from your chest, counting you in for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Second set in the frontal plane. Exhale, down to go across. Inhale to stand. Exhale to sit, twisting for 4, and traveling to the side. So you have the step, I'm sure, by now. But how do we perfect it? How do we really work the quadriceps and the hip flexors without over-recruiting our overactive IT band, lateral hamstrings, glutes? Well, for one thing, we're going to really find the proper pelvic position. We're going to tip our tailbone back a little, avoiding rounding in the low back. We're going to tug in and up on the muscles that stop your stream of pee. That inner lift is going to give you a lot of support to find your proper pelvic position. Think about the front ribs meeting the back ribs, closing off the chest to allow the upper back to do more of the work. Counting you down. 3, 2, 1. Take your break. While you're taking a little break and getting water, I will show you the second exercise. Please don't do it. This is a chance for the heart rate to go down so we can spike it up on our next burst. So for this one, we have our 3-pound weight, this time in our non-dominant hand. We're doing our scissor legs. If you have neck issues, you're doing tree pose and 4 overhead presses. And then repeating same side with the arm and leg for the tree pose. Or you're doing your lateral flexion that looks like this, an oblique crunch. If you don't have neck issues, I'd advise this. This is going to target those external obliques, and it's going to really help combat the overactivity we're seeing in a lot of the back chain of the body. It's going to allow you to access the core so that the back isn't paining so much. Counting you in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 100% effort. First, burst in the transverse plane here on these sliders for flat back posture. Now, what are we targeting here? Well, if we keep the knees soft, we're going to get into the hip flexors and the quads, the inner thighs, the adductor chain. When we're doing our lateral flexion, which is that side bending, or we're doing our presses, we're getting the upper back extensors, we're getting the lower abdominals, we're getting if we're doing the lateral flexion, the external obliques. So there's so many muscles working. Front ribs should be reaching for the back ribs, shoulders gliding down the back. Watch your chin. It's going to want to drop. It's a habit we all have from sitting behind a desk, looking down at our phones. We need to keep our head up on our spine because the head really can cause neck issues, and those can bother the shoulders, and we really want to keep our body in alignment. Counting you down. 3, 2, 1. Take your minute break. While you're here, feel free to grab water. Take any stretch that feels necessary. Just don't sit down. If you're foam rolling, that's fine because that's active. But otherwise, I want the stretch to be a standing one. No sitting down. There's plenty of options for standing stretches or foam rolling. Stand in place. Focus on your breath here. See if you can get that heart rate down, because we're going to spike it right back up. So I'm doing the variation with tree pose, but feel free to do those oblique crunches if you want to see more strength in the external obliques. That's going to be important. All right. Have about 10 seconds. Counting you in. 9, 8, 7. We're repeating the same exercise. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me 100% effort. Final set here in the transverse plane. We've got our little slide shuffles, and then we have either lateral flexion, the side bending, or tree pose with overhead presses. Pick whichever you'd like. The lateral flexion is getting the external obliques. The presses are getting the upper back extensors and the lower pelvic floor, so completely up to you. Try to synchronize what you're doing with your breath. So if you can think about inhale, lift, and exhale, move those sliders. So if you really lift up through your pelvic floor, it shouldn't be that hard to get those legs going underneath you. And if for some reason you're struggling with this one because the sliders have to move back and forth, you can always do leg reaches instead of the fast shuffles. Counting you down, 3, 2, 1, take your break. While you're taking your break, I will remind you of our final exercise. For this exercise, you're going to need that weight again, this time in your non-dominant hand. And we're going to be pressing. We're going to be doing our punches, cross punches for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the weight at the chest, elbows up. And we do our 4 lunges forward on our dominant leg side. 3, 2, 1. Back with those punches and twist of the torso. And then our non-dominant leg goes forward for a lunge for 4. So notice I'm going forward, not back. This forward action will help you get those adductors, the quads and hip flexors, those underactive muscles. Counting you in for your first set in the sagittal plane. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let's give it 100% effort. All you got. Those lunges, if you have any knee issues, you can decrease the range of motion. Just make sure that you're initiating from the lift of the pelvic floor before you slide out. That your knee is tracking over the second and third metatarsals. Your collarbone is wide, your shoulders are down your back, your focus is up, eye level. There's an apple distance between your chin and your chest. Your lower pelvic floor muscles are tugging up, 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 up. This is a great one. Getting that twisting action for a tight center, and then really working at both the top and bottom, the quadriceps and hip flexors, to combat that forward leaning that happens with flat back posture because of those really tight hamstrings and calves. Counting you down. 3, 2, 1. Take your break. Final break before our final burst in the sagittal plane. You've done great work. You can always do this workout and decrease the length of the breaks between. So we had minute breaks. You could have 45 seconds or 30 seconds. That would be more, 30 seconds would be more advanced. 45 would be intermediate level. So as your heart rate conditions more and more, you cut back those recovery times. So you're getting some water, taking any stretch, becoming mindful of your breath, hearing it fall in and hearing it fall out. Getting yourself pumped up for your final burst. All right, I'm going to count you in. 9, 8, 7, same thing. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 100% effort. Give it all you got. You've got this. Got those cross punches with the leg reaches and those forward lunges. Just remember when you're doing those lunges to engage your lower pelvic floor. And it helps me to think about my back leg reaching back as the front leg reaches forward. The thighs are reaching energy-wise in opposition. This helps to stabilize the body so that you don't go with that front leg as you go forward. You got to lift up through your center. Watch out for that dropping chin. Bring the head onto the spine. Relax the front ribs towards the back ribs. Widen your collarbone. Synchronize with your breath. Inhale. I like to inhale at the top and bottom and then move into those lunges on my exhale. I like to inhale before I begin my cross punches and twists. Driving and moving on the exhale when I've lifted the pelvic floor in and up. Counting you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great job.